hello to Native Atheist and anyone who is lurking and or watching in the future. I did share this link to at least one of the other group Twitter chats, so we may get more guests later. But before we get to the fun stuff, I think Noodle has a rant.
Look. I actually don't have much of a rant. What I have is deep, abiding disappointment. Okay, I was born in the UK. I'm British for all intents and purposes. I travel on a British passport. Don't get me started on that one. Just don't. But what's going on today is it's an embarrassment. It is a literal embarrassment that in 2023, an old man with no discernible talent is going to be given enough power to start wars and basically run this country. And with this, it's a constitutional monarchy. It means that he's not actually has a lot of power. The government can do very little without the king's approval. Now, whether the king chooses to approve things or not, he would cause a civil war if he ever went against the government. But that have you seen the state on Charles? Have you seen some of the shit he's pulled in his life?
Yes.
I wouldn't put it past him. And then on the other hand, you've got the news channels and the national state propaganda claiming that everyone's happy and joyful, like the local supermarkets selling bunting and Union flag cakes, like in a cost of living crisis where people can't afford to eat 3 square meals a day.
So they're letting them eat cake.
Literally letting them eat cake. They're putting on the circuses and they're forgetting about the bread.
Yeah.
They're putting on the circuses that are more expensive than the bread, but then telling us they can't afford the bread. And people are falling for this. And yes, I have a very insular Twitter sphere. Like most of the people I know are just like, the fuck. And rightly so. I surround myself with that kind of person for a reason. I don't. If you're a royalist, it's very unlikely we're going to have much in common because we have very different values. That's not to say I don't have friends who are royalists, but they're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, so you've got all this flag waving, fucking BBC propaganda, and then you've got the police force saying there will be low tolerance for protests. And, protesters being arrested for daring to walk on the street. The food banks saying that they are not, Perp, you read my mind. Literally, I've just seen a tweet not 5 minutes ago of food banks going to the National Lottery Fund for funding and being told no because the money's been spent on the coronation. Like, I'm not being funny, but the amount of money that I think I saw a calculation somewhere, and again, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, because at this point I'm just ranting. I think I saw something like it's going to cost every taxpayer in the UK £125. Now, I'm not being funny. That's more than my monthly shopping. I spend less than that on my shopping for the month because that's what I can afford. Not because I buy everything I could possibly want for £120, but because £80-90 a month and I'm done. And I'm reasonably well paid. I'm not a minimum wage worker. I'm reasonably well paid. For the first time in my life at the job I've been in a year. It was actually the anniversary of my new job this week. But yeah, like it's my first anniversary, and it's like This country is a fucking joke. Like, look, in principle, I do have something against royalty.
Yeah.
I in my bones, I have an issue with any ideology that says that that person is better, more deserving, more capable, or anything like that because of an accident of their birth. Because that same logic of kings in their place and commoners in theirs, that's the same logic that said slaves in their place and masters in theirs. And you cannot tell me that those two ideas are not linked. And I have concerns, okay? I have major concerns about this King Charles. I have major concerns about Camilla, because Charles, unlike his, look, the old queen, I like her. Like, I had nothing good to say about her, alive or dead, and I'm not going to start now. But
Yeah.
she at least had the discretion and the class to keep her fucking mouth shut. To
Yeah.
understand that she was in an incredibly politically precarious position, that her position was entirely ceremonial, and her job was to sit down, look pretty, wave occasionally, and have a nice nose for the front of a stamp. That was her job, and she, for what it was, she was reasonably good at it. She kept her fucking nose out of politics, and she did it that way. Now, Charles, we cannot trust to do the same because he hasn't done it already. And frankly, he himself is an embarrassment. We're talking about a man who can't use a fucking fountain pen.
Yeah.
We're talking about a man who, we have audio recordings of him leaving voicemails for his girlfriend talking about how he wants to be her tampon. This is not a man who is deserving. Like, look, I don't kink shame. You know I don't kink shame. But dude, you are royalty. Don't say that shit where it could be recorded. Like, have some discretion. Like, have some basic decency and some basic understanding of what your position is and what it entails. And then on the other hand, you've got all that going on. And then still the press. Look, I don't like Meghan Markle either. I think she's a narcissist. I think she's, she's power hungry. She's fame hungry. And I don't have much time of day for her. But what she's been put through by the British press and by the British people is scandalous.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely scandalous. It's racist to its core. Like, the British press don't dislike her because she's power hungry or a narcissist. They dislike her because she's half black. That's why they dislike her. It's the same reason I walk out in the streets at least once a week and get a racial slur thrown at me. It's because this country is at its core still racist, and those white people at the top, if they could, would put the rest of us in chains in a fucking heartbeat. And you see, the Met Police, I'm not being funny. This is supposed to be a constitutional monarchy. We are supposed to have a constitution. Now, that constitution is not like the American Constitution. It's not one unified document. It's not one idea, and the idea is that the Constitution is all of the laws that are on the books at any given point. Now, we've had habeas corpus since King John, and that's largely all that's left of the Magna Carta. And the Magna Carta was by no means a document for the people. It was no Declaration of Independence, but not that that was much of a document for the people either, but you get what I mean. But in the UK, we are raised with this belief that we live in a free country, a free democracy, that we have the right to vote. We all went out and voted yesterday, and the fucking government is shitting itself. Have you seen the results? But then at the same time, on a day of international importance, we aren't allowed to protest. We aren't allowed to walk. Like, let me make one thing absolutely clear here. The protesters who were arrested today who the police at the time gave no reason for their arrest, were on their way to the designated protest space with protest signs when they were arrested. They had done nothing wrong. They were following the law. And the police officer who arrested them said, he's just under arrest. Okay. Those are the words that came out of a police officer's mouth. Does that sound like a democracy? Does that sound like a country where you're free to make your voice heard and speak your mind? No, it doesn't. That sounds like a fascist dictatorship. Because we've no idea what they're being held under. We've no idea how long they're going to be held. We've no idea, where they're going to be held. That, I'm not being funny. Putin's looking at that and taking fucking notes. Like,
Yeah.
And this happened when the Queen died as well. When the Queen died, look, I was the first to say, look, take the piss out of the institution, take the piss out of the royal family, but leave the fact that a woman died out of it, because at the end of the day, that's a human being. Still stand by that statement. Still stand by it. Doesn't mean you can't criticize the institution, doesn't mean you can't criticize Charlie and his fucking nonsense. But it wasn't the time to protest then when it happened in secret, because under UK law, and I need people who are not British and maybe people who are British to understand this as well. He has already been king. At the moment the previous monarch dies, the right to call yourself the monarch of Britain immediately, simultaneously transfers at the moment of the previous monarch's death. That's why famously in movies and shit, the line goes, the king is dead, long live the king.
Yeah.
That's what that means. It's literally in the next breath. So all this pageantry and all this nonsense, it's fuckery. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a show, right? And it's the kind of, it's do you know what it is? It's like when you graduate. It's like when you graduate, you've already got your qualification. You've already got your transcript. Your graduation ceremony is not for you. It's so the university can look good and so your parents can take some pretty pictures. That's what a graduation ceremony is for. And this is basically his graduation ceremony. Like, he outlived mummy. What did he do?
Yeah.
Like,
or
he's basically celebrating that his mother dropped dead. Like, I'm not being funny. That's really tasteless.
Or in the immortal words of Jeremy Irons, long live the king. That was actually pretty decent.
Also, at any point while we're talking in this, if anyone's watching Twitter and the words king shot start trending, please tell me, because I will turn the TV on for that.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
like I'm not being funny. Like, the institution of the royal family has no need to exist in its current form in 2023.
Yeah.
And I know I said I didn't have a rant and I've gone for 15 minutes, but
yeah,
just look, there are some royal families out there who do it right-ish. Like the Danish royal family. They all work day jobs. They don't take a national stipend, so far as I'm aware. Most of their palaces and what have you are public buildings, like museums and shit that people can go to. Not like, go stand next to the guards at Buckingham Palace and look through the gates. Yeah. They're public buildings and they work for a living, and there's none of this fucking nonsense about, they wouldn't dream of sticking their oar into politics. If you're going to have a royal family that's there, because everyone argues that the reason we still have the royal family is because they bring in so much tourism. You're going to have a royal family for tourism, make them work as fucking tour guides.
Yeah.
I would pay to go on a tour of Buckingham Palace in which Will or fucking Charles or any one of them had to walk around in shorts and a t-shirt with a lanyard around his neck saying tour guide. I would pay to see that. I would pay to see it, because then they'd be fucking working for a living. And also, I'm one of those people, when I go on tours, I call the tour guide out when their history is shit. So I absolutely would go on that tour, because apparently that's the only way you'd get freedom of speech. Like,
yeah.
Yes, the pageantry was to validate the new monarch, instill loyalty in the subjects, and impress enemies with how powerful they were. We're a bit beyond that. Like, this is, like, famously, the Soviet Union used to do triumphal. This is his triumphal march. If anyone's ever seen the opera Aida,
Yeah.
it's that triumphal march. Like, if you've ever heard of, the Romans when they went to war would come back and have a triumph going into the city with the general. And but the difference is, right, when the Romans did it, the generals had earned that shit because they'd been fighting, like pillaging, plundering, looting, raping, expanding the empire, but still fighting.
Yeah.
They'd earned that shit. They'd done something other than just wait around for mummy to drop dead. And there was this practice with triumphs where he'd come in on a chariot, and there would be a slave boy positioned in the chariot. And it was the slave boy's job, with all the pageantry and all the things he'd looted coming behind him, and all the slaves in chains, and the music and the noise and the crowds. It was the slave's jobs to remind him, remember, you are just a man. Because it was understood that when you give people that level of pageantry, they are that goes to people's heads. Like, you can be a decent human being and shit like that goes to your head. And you can be a terrible human being and it definitely will go to your head. The royal succession is supposedly the divine right of kings. He is literally being made a god today.
Yeah.
He is being deified. And that, to me, that rankles, because I'm not being funny. Look, I'm a polytheist, so I don't give a shit how many gods there are out there. But, I mean, even Zeus is looking at that guy and going, nah. Just nah. Like
Zeus is looking at Charles and saying, I don't kink shame, but I kink ask why.
Zeus is just looking at Charles and just going, nah.
Yeah.
There are some rapey, evil, vicious gods in polytheism in all pantheons, in Roman, Norse, Greek, whatever pantheon you follow. And they're all looking at Charles today and going, he ain't us. He ain't one of us. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point, most of the Norse pantheon are looking at Loki and going, is this one of your tricks? Like, oh, where's the punchline? The fuck? Like,
Yeah.
And I have a lot of opinions on this, but largely my opinion is the royal family, the institute of royalty in the 21st century. Like, why couldn't the Y2K bug have been a royal blood specific virus that wiped all the fuckers out? If their blood is so special, why can't we isolate what's genetically special about it and kill the lot of them off? And yes, because I have very strong opinions about the royal family. I would never actually go out and kill someone because I'm not a fucking psychopath. But I have opinions. And if there was a political option that would be done without bloodshed today, if someone gave me the option today and said, you can press a button, no bloodshed, but there will be no royalty anywhere in the world, I would hit that button so hard I'd break the console. Like, I can't. With these people, I just can't. Like, what gives you the fucking right? Who do you think you are? And how dare you look down on high from us and claim you are better than us when it's our work and our blood, sweat and tears and our taxes that put you there, and you dare sit there and look down on high from us and claim that you are being kind because it only costs 8 billion instead of 15 billion or whatever the fuck. Those numbers I pulled out of thin air. Just insert the correct ones into the rant. But £125 per person. That's a lot of fucking money in today's economy. That's 2 months worth of electric. That's nearly 2 months worth of electric for me. That's, I just, I said I didn't have a rant, so I'm going to stop here. But do you know what? It's days like today that make you realise we are not citizens. We are not a free people in the UK. We are subjects, and that fucker owns us. Sit with that.
Yeah.
And then tell me it's okay to arrest peaceful protesters.
And to lighten things up a little bit, I mean, I was a highwayman along the coach roads I did ride. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, just for once. Yeah, it's yeah. If I told you how I really felt, Scummer, there'd be a knock at my door.
Yeah,
like those poor sods down in London won't be the only ones being arrested today. And let's see what other comments did we get. 8 billion is only 2 months electric. No, well, actually, yeah, for the whole country, probably.
Yeah.
At current rates of electric, like the price of electric has literally tripled since December. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we were spending more than 8 billion a month on it.
Yeah.
Nationwide. Actually, I'm going to Google that. UK electric bill total. There's no hang on. If the average is okay, so typical energy bill in the UK is, let's go for medium usage profile, is 1,200 a year. Yeah, £1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. Number of households UK was 19.3 million times 1,200.
Well, it'd be 19.3 million times 100. So it'd be
for the annual cost.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, no, okay, so times 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be 193 million.
And that's the median. It's the median. So the annual month, the monthly bill on average, median, not accounting for like massive that. Although to be fair, that's stupid because that claims that the annual electric cost is £780. Now mine's £90. It is 1,200. Mine's £90 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm a single person living in a 1-bed flat who doesn't have to pay for gas. So how is £100 the median when most places are like 3-bed houses with 2 parents and a kid or 2 kids? How's that? That makes no sense. Those numbers don't make a lot of sense. But yeah, like, so when 1 billion, let's say 1 billion, $1.5 billion for a month, like, and that's at the low end of the estimate. That's like, realistically, no one's paying less electric than I am because I'm a single person living on my own. I spend most of my time
at
work or asleep when I'm not using electric. Like, the only things that are constantly running in my flat are my router and my fridge.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's 1 billion. Now, I know people who were paying triple or more what I'm paying in electric, who are paying £300-400 a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, 8 billion when you account for all the households and people with higher bills and more kids and more electronics that they're plugging in and shit. 8 billion probably is about 6 to 8 weeks of electric bill in the UK. Like,
for the entire country. Like,
for the entire country.
That's an important qualifier.
Yeah, for the entire country. For the entire country. You know, although by all means, if anyone's better at maths than me and wants to get like the real figure for that, go right ahead and send it to me, because I'd be curious to know. Because, you know, and if you boil it down to this £125 per person, yeah. My electric bills last year were £25 a month. They're now 90, and I've cut down on my electric usage. I've bought an air fryer, so I don't have to turn the entire oven on because it's not as expensive. I only cook in the air. I can't remember the last time I turned the oven on. Yeah, all my appliances. I buy most of my electrical appliances from Richard Sounds. They're all really good quality.
After all the trouble I put you through to get you that, to get that new oven.
Yeah, no, I switch my TV off at the wall. I never used to do that. I never used to be a need to do that. There's a reason, like, you see me with this background more often because my laptop uses less power than my gaming PC.
Yeah.
Which am I going to use? I've got a little fan heater, a little 800-watt fan heater. Usually that's running constantly from September through to February in this flat. Constantly. I think I've used it about 4 times all year. All winter.
Yeah.
Like, it's honestly ridiculous. Stupid stuff, I don't use a toaster anymore. Like, I've got a toaster. I can't remember. I unplugged it fucking 6 months ago. I haven't used it since. Because toasters are really inefficient for what they are. Like, I don't want toasted bread that badly. I just don't. Yeah, that's fair, perp. But it's... I have a bog standard kettle like everyone does in the UK. I stopped using my coffee machine because it was inefficient.
Yeah.
Like all these stupid things. And yet the government's telling us, oh, turn your lights off more and do this and do that and do the other and put a blanket on instead of like turning the heating up. And it's like, fuck you.
Solid gold carriage.
Do you think the Prime Minister's sat in number 10 with a blanket on his knees?
Yeah.
Do you think old Charlie there's gonna, and then, okay, that solid gold carriage is old. Like, once you've bought it and paid for it, you may as well fucking use it. But, like, none of this is necessary.
Well, yeah, but you can't say that it didn't get at least a bit of a makeover for the coronation.
Oh, yeah, no, it did. It did. Of course it did. It all did. Also, just quickly, Maggie, you can make crumpets in an air fryer. I know that's the most British thing I've said so far, but you can make crumpets in an air fryer. What you do, lay the crumpets flat. Okay, put a little knob of butter in the middle of them. Turn the air fryer on, 200 degrees, 4 to 5 minutes, depending on how toasty you want them. They come out perfect. Been there. Also, bacon. If you like your bacon but not crispy like the Americans cremate it, 7 minutes in an air fryer at 200. Lay it flat on the bottom. You can easily make a full English in an air fryer.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Now,
eat your heart out, Hannibal Lecter.
So, noodle.
Nerdy, you shouldn't put cream or jam on your crumpets. Cream and jam go on scones.
Yeah.
And it's scones, not scones. Don't at me.
So, Noodle suggested we do something to basically distract from the coronation.
Yeah.
And
now you've heard my rant on the topic. We do, yeah.
And I already had an idea, but now I may accidentally trigger another noodle rant because I do have to give a disclaimer before this. Even though I will continue playing D&D 5th edition, and I may eventually run it back.
Sorry, I just need to interrupt. Minority Report is trending on Twitter because the UK is now in Minority Report. But yeah, carry on.
Anyways, so even though I will be, will continue to play D&D 5th edition, and I may very well start streaming it again because of how heavily I homebrew everything and how Wizards of the Coast did back off on the whole OGL BS. I am, and this next sentence won't really impact anything because I get most of my rules open source anyways. I'm never going to be giving Wizards of the Coast any of my money. Disclaimer. Because I'm not sure if you're aware of what they did a couple weeks back.
What did they do?
So this YouTuber got like a bulk box of like Magic the Gathering cards, and he did, a live stream opening. Well, it turns out that they weren't for the current set; they were for an unreleased set. Even though the outer box was the same for the current, for the current set. Watsy sent the Pinkertons on him.
No comment. Yes. Look, I've already committed treason twice. You can't ask me to do it a third time.
Yeah.
I think the third time, and they do come knock on my door and take me to the tower.
But yeah, I was aware of it before Cirrus covered it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like sending the Pinkertons on a guy who from what I can gather just had the misfortune of getting the wrong shipment.
Yeah. Like, how was he supposed to know if he did a live unboxing?
Yeah. And like, so from what I gather, the outer box that, the packs and boxes came in was had the markings for the current set. And then while he was doing the unboxing, it turned out that it was for an upcoming set that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
So to, plug the leak, Wizards sent Wizards sent the Pinkertons on him.
Look, yeah. Look, we live in the end times. Let's be clear here. Like, civilization is declining. I think civilization peaked in like 1990.
But
1998 June time, I think.
All that is leading up to the Chaos has numbers.
Well, there you go. So yeah, when I said 8 billion is about 2 months electric, I wasn't joking. There you go. 19.3 million households, average electricity bill of 180 per month in the UK, 3.5 billion a month on electric. 3.5 times 2 is 7. They're spending 8 billion on the Coronation. Yeah, 2 months electric for people.
Yeah. The title difference between the set he was expecting and the unreleased set was just adding a single word on the end. Yeah, it was, Rise of the Machine and Rise of the Machine's Aftermath. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, that all leading up to is because I had I already had an idea for a fun stream that I could do sometime is, like Disney characters that you could play in D&D as a warlock.
Okay.
Because I've noticed that most of my characters have at least a couple levels of warlock in them, and I don't have a problem. I do not.
No, you don't have a problem because the rest of us do.
Yeah.
Those of us who play with you do. You and your cantrip use, I swear. Is there anything that you can't use frigging prestidigitation for? Like,
well, I mean, there was one there. Oh, okay. So, a bit of a D&D glory story before we get started. So, we were in this drow city, and we accidentally triggered a xenomorph attack because there was a xenomorph hive. No, well, there was a bunch of xenomorphs being controlled by an aboleth, and we killed the aboleth, and so they all went berserk and started attacking everyone.
Okay.
So, and in the middle of this big pitched battle, the xenomorph queen was fighting this big adamantine golem, right? Okay. We get near, and we had already it had already been established that loud noises will cause them to temporarily go blind because they see with echolocation.
Okay.
So I'm like,
oh, you do?
So I'm like, okay. And I was right, my character was riding the druid because she had turned into a dragon. And I'm like, okay, once we're within
what? No, sorry. No. Say that sentence again, but slowly.
My character was riding the druid who had turned into a dragon.
Dear fanfiction writers, no. Stop. Carry on.
We're talking like never-ending story, not bomb chicka wow wow.
I mean, I'm sure never-ending story has plenty of fix.
Oh God. So, anyways, once we're within 60 feet, I try and cast Shatter, which makes a really loud noise. Turns out the adamantine golem had a magic shield, but the DM described it as having holes in it. So I'm like, so I asked the DM, are the holes arranged in a way as to make the golem's body a resonant chamber?
Oh dear God, what did you do?
The DM says yes. So I'm like, okay. And would it be fair to say that my blacksmithing tools would include a hammer? The DM says yes.
You didn't. Oh my God.
So I say, okay, I jump off the dragon and ring the golem like a giant bell.
I married this person, folks.
I took a ridiculous amount of thunder damage and went deaf until I was like magically healed by a high level spell.
Okay, so this is why you frighten me. This is also why I married you, because I want you on my post-apocalypse team. Like, with an imagination like that, we are gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I ring the golem like a bell.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. Chaos. Like, I will warn you if I ever do play under you. when I start asking very specific questions about the environment, you need to get very afraid.
Ring, 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 darling, darling. When I play under you, please mind your phrasing.
Okay, when I play at your table.
Only marginally better. Oh, I love you, but sometimes just the things that come out of your mouth, like that. I ring the golem like that's gonna become the new. I strap missiles to the dolphins. Like, sorry, folks. Once Ring was playing D&D on their laptop, like an online game through Discord or whatever, and I was sat in the room and I just heard the words, "I strap missiles to the dolphins."
So to clarify, it was we were discussing about whether or not to summon dolphins and strap gunpowder kegs to them to use them as essentially living torpedoes. What we actually ended up doing was the druid controlled water to make a big whirlpool and crash the ships into each other, and we sailed through the blockade that way.
I should point out that they didn't nix the dolphin idea on the grounds of animal cruelty.
It says in the spell description that they are face spirits that disappear when they die. It's not animal cruelty technically.
See, that happened before we got married, so I can't even say I wasn't warned.
Like it's not even pretend animal cruelty.
So what, it's like 3 degrees of separation from animal cruelty?
At least.
And I mean, a bacon cheeseburger is only 2 degrees of separation, so yeah. Fair enough. I want a bacon cheeseburger now. Anyway, we were going to rank the Warlock. Yeah. This is exactly what we are like, Gary. Thank you. We're not adorable. Ring is adorable.
So, anyways.
So we're going to rank the Warlock characters of Disney.
Yeah. So, hold on. Just let me...
And we are taking commentary in the comments. If you have any opinions, jump in.
Yeah. Share screen.
Hey Nerdy, you need to call what's the dolphin equivalent to Rampant Rabbit? What have you done?
No, I'm trying to zoom in on this because if I full screen it, I can't move pictures. It's stupid.
Okay, zoom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I zoom in and it makes it smaller.
Cool, but the fair hold grudges.
Yeah.
Okay, you see where it says, does anyone know how to use Canva?
Yeah. See, actually, I wonder if I zoom out, it's...
Yeah, it's not letting you zoom any further because of the... Yeah, that's as good as you're going to get.
Yeah. Okay,
cool.
So zoom way out to make everything except the middle small. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And okay. So to explain the tier list. So for patron, instead of S tier, we have patron. Basically, D&D terms, the patron is the being that grants the warlock their powers. Usually in exchange for services rendered.
What is it with you and the phrasing today?
A, B, C, F, typical tier list grade stuff. N stands for not a warlock.
Cool. Right. Let's do this.
Yep. So we're gonna go ahead and go in alphabetical order by movie.
Cool.
So first,
Aladdin.
Aladdin from the Disney movie Aladdin.
Make
Now,
your case.
Aladdin is a. I will say that Aladdin is a warlock. So he's not, so he's not in N tier. Um, he now I will say he's mostly a rogue, probably thief for the extra, for the climb speed. But he does have at least 2 levels, maybe 3 of warlock. Like you could argue that the scene where he grabs the sword from the ring of swords in the big climatic battle is just refluff, a refluff of summoning his packed weapons. So you could say he's packed to the blade. Honestly, he doesn't really use much of his warlock stuff except for Mask of Many Faces, which is disguise self as will. Actually, a lot of Disney Warlocks really like that invocation. and beguiling presence, which gives him proficiency in deception and persuasion. So I'm probably gonna put Aladdin at like C tier.
Is he quite C tier though? Because, like you said, he doesn't really use any warlock spells.
Yeah.
Now I will. Most of his skills are more rogue. That he uses are more rogue than warlock.
Now I will say, I see. I'm saying C tier instead of F tier because it's a good example of an unorthodox warlock patron relationship. Okay, so spoiler alert, genie is a patron. The genie is Aladdin's patron. Basically, instead of the I order you, I give you 3 wishes, I take my 3 wishes and you're screwed. He's like, hey, if you give me power, I'll set you free. And I think the relationship between Aladdin and the genie brings him from F tier, but since he doesn't really do any warlock stuff, he doesn't quite hit B tier.
Yeah, but surely,
if you were going to use Aladdin as an inspiration for a D&D warlock, take the unorthodox relationship with the patron, because in terms of role play, the patron is the biggest asset to what a warlock is.
Okay, so just quickly, before we get any further, give me the elevator pitch for what a warlock is, because there seems to be a little bit of confusion in the comments of what definition of warlock you're using.
Okay, so okay, hold on. So I'm actually going to go through and debunk comments real quick. So his Prince Ali outfit is obviously an example of disguise self, which the Mask of Many Faces warlock invocation lets you cast at will, because when Jafar gets a hold of the lamp, and during the Prince Ali reprise, he casts Dispel Magic on Aladdin, and his clothes revert to their normal appearance.
But is that Aladdin who casts that spell, or is it the genie that casts that?
Yeah.
Because Nerd has made a point. Any extremely high-level rogue skill can be misinterpreted as magic.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Like any sufficiently advanced technology, isn't it? Which Purple also said in the
Oh
comments.
yay! We have another D&D
Yay!
player in
Chaos! Yay!
yeah.
Yes.
That wasn't a downbeat.
Yeah.
That was a yay! Someone to help me understand what the fuck's going on here.
Yeah. So Chaos in your and so you run D&D, you play D&D.
Yes, I actually play D&D most days at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nerdy Rodent in D&D terms, Warlock is the class name.
Warlock just represents people who get their powers from making deals, basically.
Yeah.
Winchesters.
Yeah. Yeah. They make a deal for power from a powerful entity of some sort. And that that can manifest in various ways, like in terms of like usually it's casting spells, but there there are invocations that that, like I say, give you proficiency in.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
If the definition of a warlock is someone who makes a deal,
yeah,
in order to gain power, why the hell is Hercules not on this list?
Because I
You
forgot
forgot about him, didn't you?
No, I forgot to add him. I was considering him, putting him on this list, but in my opinion, Hercules would be an Aasimar Oath of Glory Paladin. The deal he makes with Hades is I won't interfere. Yeah, I won't interfere. You make, you keep Meg safe.
That's not the deal I was talking about.
And his quest to become a deity is more akin to taking a paladin oath than making a deal with an eldritch or with a powerful entity.
I refer you to Zeus.
So Chaos, what's your input on this? Because
so
it's purely on the Disney version, not on the mythology.
Yeah, Disney's Hercules, Oath of Glory Paladin, or Warlock.
I think that you could actually probably get a Warlock out of it with a Celestial Patron, with a dip.
Or maybe Oath of Glory Paladin for a dip for those short rest smite slots.
Oh yeah, actually.
And which is why I'd say, and Perp says Hercules was half deity to begin with. Which is why I'd say
to begin with, and magic robbed him of most of his power.
Which is why I say his race would probably be Aasimar. Yeah, like if I were going to make Disney's Hercules in D&D, I'd probably go Aasimar, Oath of Glory Paladin with either a barbarian or with a barbarian and or a celestial warlock dip.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So we've got Aladdin and the genie, who are a warlock patron pair.
Yeah.
It's Chaos gone. But if Jafar is capable of undoing the genie's magic, which the genie granted to Aladdin,
yeah,
does that make Jafar a patron or a warlock? Discuss.
Actually, I'm going to say Jafar is not a warlock. He's a high-level wizard.
A high-level wizard's more powerful than a warlock's patron?
Well, see, and this is why I'm saying... So, basically, you know, that's why I'm saying the Prince Ali disguise was the Pax Boon Mask of Many Faces, which lets you cast disguise self as well at will. Aladdin cast, disguise self. Jafar dispelled it.
Yes, but if Jafar dispelled it, that means he's more powerful than the spell.
That was cast.
And therefore the spellcaster.
Dispel magic removes the effect of a spell on a person. Like dispel magic, that it does what it says on the tin. It dispels magic.
But yeah, dispel magic dispels magic. But in order to be able for that to work,
disguise self is a first level spell. Dispel magic is third level.
Yes, but the power behind it is what I'm talking about here. It's like it might be a level 1 spell, right? But what can I make this an analogy to explain my point of view? It's like stains on clothing. Bear with me.
Yeah.
Something easy to get out, like, I don't know, Diet Coke.
Yeah.
On cotton. Something easy to get out. You ain't using bleach for that shit.
Yeah.
You're using, like, a bit of dish soap and chucking it in the wash. But, red wine, you're busting out the OxyClean. Like, and what you've essentially got here is you've got Diet Coke and Jafar came along with the OxyClean. Power-wise.
Yeah.
Like,
well, also
power versus levels. Like, if you are a level 20 warlock and you cast a level 1 spell, do you cast that at level 1 or do you cast that at level 20 or somewhere in between?
Like, you cast it. So you cast it at level 5 because warlocks cast at the maximum. Like, warlocks are weird when it comes to spell slots because most spellcasters have level 1 through 9.
So if you get
and they get a certain amount of spells for that.
Okay, but you get a warlock at level 5 and a warlock at level 20. Yeah. And they are quote unquote dueling. And they both cast the same spell. And they both hit with the same spell. Whose spell did more damage? Or is it the same?
Depends on the spell.
Well, so
like the same spell.
So you can, when you cast certain spells at higher levels, they do more damage, but I don't think it applies to every damaging spell.
But what I'm saying is, if a level 20 warlock casts a spell at level 5, you've also got a level 5 warlock who's casting a spell at level 5.
Actually, the level 5 warlock would be casting 3rd level spell slots.
Okay, like a level 10 warlock casting at level 5. I don't know. I'm not fucking, like, everything being equal between two warlocks, the only difference being their own inherent level of power, their own inherent level. One massively overpowered compared to the other. It's a higher level. Are those spells going to do the same damage?
Like I said, it depends on the spell because some spells don't get added damage when they
spell.
Yeah.
Same spell, all things being equal, all modifiers the same, everything the same, hit the same.
Yeah, so I think the thing is
going to cause the same level of hit point damage.
I think that the thing is that we're not saying it depends on the spell, as in they might both be using different spells, as in it depends on which spell they are both using.
Yeah.
any simple spell that can go to, like, why is this such a difficult? Why is it a basic? Why is this such a difficult question for you to answer?
Because
Warlocks.
warlocks
Firing at
are
a
weird.
Okay, pick a spell, any spell. I ain't got a deck of cards. Pick a spell.
Yeah.
Pick a spell.
Yeah.
Pick an offensive battle style spell.
Okay, so like if a level, so where I'll go with a cantrip, the cantrip that's most known for warlocks, and it's actually going to be mentioned in this tier list, but not by anyone you might consider, or you might be surprised when it comes up, is Eldritch Blast. So if each warlock casts Eldritch Blast, the level 20 would get a lot more damage out of their Eldritch Blast.
Right, that's what I'm getting at, is the power level is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, we have now established that a level 20 warlock is more powerful than a level 10 warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah? Jafar, on the basis of what you have just said, has to be more powerful than the genie. Because otherwise, his Dispel magic spell is not going to undo the genie's spell.
Dispel magic undoes a spell of its level or lower, depending on what slot it was cast. Or if it's trying to affect a higher level spell, there's an arcana. There's a spellcraft roll that has to...
its level or lower.
Yeah.
Which means that the spell the genie cast was at a lower level than Jafar.
Or that if it was higher, he had to succeed on a roll.
Yeah.
Yes. Which means that he has the capacity to be more powerful than the genie.
Okay, let me put it. Okay, let me try to explain it this way. Right? So a spell's level is basically would you agree with me for this metaphor by saying chaos, that a spell's level is basically how hard it screws with reality?
It's power.
Yes, however, there are certain spells that no matter how much energy you pump into it, they only affect reality in the same way.
Yeah. But so, like, for instance, Disguise Self is a first level spell. All it really does is put an illusion around you.
Okay.
And so what Jafar does is he dispels the illusion.
Okay. But if you are very high level and you cast that illusion spell, which to be a patron, you're pretty damn high level. Does this track so far?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, why have you essentially created a scenario in which a punch from Muhammad Ali is the same as a punch from me? Because that's essentially what you've created here. You've created a scenario in which a brick wall and a layer of plasticine has the same capacity to be destroyed. That's what you've done. If you take the illusion, and we'll use walls as an example, you've got fragile glass in like a Catholic church window, and then you've got a solid concrete block. And what you're essentially saying is that anyone who is like, those two things can be destroyed with equal destructiveness.
Yeah. Okay.
No matter how powerful someone is. That's patently not the case.
Okay, let me put it this way. So imagine Dispel Magic is an eraser for magic.
Okay, but then what you're telling me is that it's just as easy to erase pencil scratchings as it is permanent marker.
Yeah, so
if you've got two people who are writing, and one's writing with a pencil and one's writing with a Sharpie, why can person C come along and erase both of those just as easily? Like,
by using the same thing to get rid of the pencil that they did with the Sharpie.
okay, but those are two completely, like...
It is absolutely overkill, but warlocks at a high level don't have an option but to overkill.
So basically what you're saying is person C has come along and set fire to the piece of paper. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Like, one's writing in pencil, one's writing in Sharpie, so person C comes along and destroys the piece of paper.
Yeah, that is actually a better metaphor. Is basically, you know, Aladdin's disguise was a drawing and Jafar came and burned the paper.
Okay. But if it was a drawing created by a patron, why the hell was that piece of paper not fireproofed? Like, why did the power of the patron creating that piece of paper not fireproof it?
The answer to that is simply that the specific spell disguise self doesn't get any better at being not destroyed the higher level you cast it at, really.
Yeah.
So it will always be the same piece of cheap A4 paper from Staples.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Why didn't you say that 20 minutes ago?
But would you...
Like, can you tell I don't play D&D much, folks? But this is why I'm here. I'm the avatar for the everyman.
Yeah, Chaos, you would agree that Jafar is a high-level wizard that basically got a bunch of sorcerer levels when he wished to be more powerful.
Warlock, wizard, sorcerer. Give me the rundown. What's the difference?
Okay. Warlock, you make a deal with Warlocks cheat by, basically setting up a Patreon for eldritch entities. And
Robert Johnson was a warlock. Discuss.
Yeah, and if you want to make me your warlock, I do have a Patreon. The link isn't in the description, but it's in the description of most of my videos.
Yeah. Okay.
Wizards get their magic through intense study. They
Yes, the wizards are the nerds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Casting magic isn't hard if you've got a library card.
I want that on a t-shirt. Casting magic isn't hard if you've got a library card. I want that on a t-shirt.
Sorcerers were born that way. Maybe they were born that way. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah, with sorcerers, sometimes it's a bit... A decent comparison for sorcerers would be the X-Men, where some of them are genuinely born like that, and some of them it gets activated later in life.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what we have is, maybe it's Maybelline. Leave the nerd in the corner, and so, like, Hellhound on my trail, but no.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd say all those spells in the big final confrontation in Aladdin, I'd easily yes, there could be an argument that he's using subtle spell, but I'm pretty sure he just asked the DM, hey, can I make all my verbal components for my spellcasting terrible dad jokes? And the DM's like, yeah, I'll roll with that.
Okay, so what we're saying is Jafar is a nerd.
Yeah. Yeah, Jafar
Aladdin
is a nerd.
needs to listen for barking.
And the genie is the one sending the hellhound on his trail, but not really because he completed their bargain.
I've now got a mental image of the genie describing Aladdin as a denim-wrapped nightmare. If you know, you know.
So, okay.
Okay, next one.
Okay, next one. So, Technically, Ariel is higher in alphabetical order, but Ursula was actually requested.
Okay, so the story of Ursula is a weird one because it's quite obvious she has studied her craft. I mean, that's quite obvious. I am going to go with the library card, Maybelline, and like, that's how I'm going to be describing this going forward.
Yeah.
So she's clearly studied her craft because she does potions and shit, and they're all over her lair.
Yeah.
But she clearly has some inherent power. Like, maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, maybe it is Maybelline. I'm gonna go with maybe it's Maybelline.
Do you so Chaos, do you want to have any input before we're gonna see where I put Ursula?
I have a bit of a split thought where she's obviously a powerful entity that draws power from somewhere herself, but she also grants power to others, which means you could put her in patron. But I think you could also label her a cleric who specifically adheres to the philosophy variant that's in one of the supplement books.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Maybelline, but she's a patron.
Yeah, I put Ursula as a patron.
Yeah. But that makes sense. It's Maybelline, and if you worship her, you get shampoo and conditioner.
Yep. Just resizing slightly.
Yeah. And then we've got Ariel.
Yep.
Who has no discernible magical talent of her own.
Yeah. I would probably personally put her low.
Yeah, I'm gonna even I'm gonna even say the talking to fish is because she's a Triton in D&D terms. It's a racial ability. It's not magical.
It's a race. It's not. It's a racial ability. Not
like
if singing could like she's probably more of a bard than anything else.
Yep. But actually, I am going to put her in F tier.
Go on.
Yeah.
Because she does make a deal with a patron, but the thing is, she sold one of the main she traded away one of the things that spellcasters need to cast spells.
Yep, verbal components.
Verbal component, yeah.
Yeah.
So she traded away a verbal component for a non-magical item, basically her legs.
Yeah, well, for a conditional true polymorph.
Mm.
Yeah, and I feel like it's fairly safe to say she just took A level in Warlock and then never wanted to interact with her patron again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, like, she's such a hoarder. She's got so much frigging material components for spells right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like she did not need Ursula. She could have probably done that herself. Like through the power of music, she could have probably done it. Which is how it went in the end, wasn't it? She got her verbal component back, and that's how she quote unquote won. Although the older I get, the less I understand. Although to be fair, I never understood it. Why would you want to leave? Like, I'm with Sebastian on this. Why would you want to live on land when you have the option of being a mermaid?
Okay,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to be a princess mermaid because royal duties. See the start of this stream for that. But,
yeah.
but a mermaid in general, like, yeah, I'm game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing is it seems really weird to me that she'd want to go on land where you're kind of stuck to the surface. Like, imagine saying to a mermaid, you can now only go on the ocean floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's really weird. It's like she's used to moving in 3 dimensions. And then she just not. Like,
yeah.
It's like clipping a bird's wings, essentially, is what's being done to her. She's used to being able to fly, swim, and now you've trapped her on the sea. What?
Yeah.
I don't understand this child's logic. It's like, you're getting old when the Disney Disney princesses talk about how they're 16 and grown up now.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so Cinderella.
I wouldn't necessarily say she made a deal. Like
Well,
she got magical help, but
yeah,
did she
I
make a
like.
deal for that?
I would say actually her father did because she has
Okay,
a
but that
fairy
doesn't make her a
godmother.
warlock. That doesn't make her a warlock. She's not the one who made the deal. Can someone
I'd
make a deal on
say
your behalf and you be a warlock?
I'd say this is an unorthodox warlock build. Unorthodox
Yeah.
warlock.
This is a DM permissible thing where a
Yeah.
lot of DMs would probably say, if someone else made a deal for you to have magical assistance, you can flavor it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, surely that would be more Maybelline than deal, though, because maybe she's born with it. Maybe Daddy made a deal.
And I will say she definitely has, at least 2 levels for the invocation beast speech and once again mask of many faces, because disguise self is just like everybody, like every Disney Warlock loves disguise self most time. It seems.
Yeah.
But a rogue can do both of those things. Sorry, not a rogue. A ranger can do both of those things.
A ranger, well, depending on the subclass.
But not using the same techniques necessarily. But a ranger could achieve those things just as well.
Warlocks can talk to animals at will.
Yeah, I've played a ranger that can talk to an animal at will.
It's at will versus using a spell slot.
Yeah. It's at will versus using a spell slot, and there's a difference between having a familiar, which I allowed your beast companion to be, and talking to all animals at will.
Okay, so it's the difference between Dr. Dolittle and...
Yeah, and Cinderella's definitely got the Dr. Dolittle going on.
Yeah, okay, so the easiest way to do it is by being a warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could mechanically work it other ways.
Yeah, you could bodge it in other ways, but the quickest and easiest way is being a warlock.
That tends to be like that tends to be the trend for like most warlock stuff, is you can do it in other ways, but the quickest and easiest way to do it is with the warlock.
A bippity boppity boo.
Yep. And also I'd argue that she uses a Pact of the Archfey feature in the movie.
Oh yes, actually, that's a point.
Beguiling presence. You can make people charmed by your, you can make people charmed by you if you make a pact with an Archfey.
Okay, but right. None of this magic that's done is magic she has cast. Is that because it's a hell of a leap to think that she used magic to get the prince, other than obviously the way she's dressed. She used magic to beguile the prince. Instead of, her riveting conversation skills and perfect in-step dancing. I don't know what the fuck they cared about in that era.
Yeah.
But there's no...
So there's...
Yeah, exactly what Purple is saying in the chat. It's all magic done for her, not magic done by her.
So this would come down to the classes themselves are actually a set of mechanics that you can reflavor how you like. So an example could be, I've previously built a sorcerer who doesn't know she's casting any magic. Things happen around her when I narratively decide that they do, almost in like a luck type way. And so you could totally reflavor Cinderella's spellcasting as the fairy godmother creating influence.
Okay, but again, as Purple has said in the chat and has beat me to it again, she doesn't offer the fairy godmother anything in return. Where's the contract part of the contract?
And which is where I say that it's an unorthodox patron relationship. But
I mean, I suppose you could wrangle it as her father offered the fairy godmother what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to insert word here, the thing of being the godmother to a princess.
Yeah. Honor.
Yeah, we'll go with honor because I can't think of the actual word.
Yeah, or before he died, he did the fairy godmother some sort of favor, and this is how she's repaying it, because that's how fae work.
Yeah. Or maybe the fairy godmother is doing this and is going to hold Cinderella to something later.
Yeah.
But again, this is all extra textual. It's not backed up
Yeah.
within the movie. I'm still not entirely convinced she's a warlock. Like, I'm still not, like, even if her father made the deal for her, which is a big, big if.
Yeah.
Like, she never casts any magic of her own.
Talking to animals.
It occurs to me
the fairy godmother showed up.
There is an additional option.
Yeah.
She is effectively we could even rank her amongst the warlocks if she took the Eldritch Initiate feat.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but when we're talking about who's a warlock and who's not, are we talking about whose main class is warlock, or are we talking about someone who took 3 levels so they could?
I'm saying at least.
Where's the line here?
Yeah, at least 2 levels of warlock. Because she does have at least 2 invocations. Beast Speech and Mask of Many Faces.
No, but it's the fairy godmother who casts the spell that gets her dressed.
You could flavor it as magic initiate for disguise self still.
Yeah. Well,
combined with, so if you've got the 2 feats.
The thing is, if we're wrangling with D&D feats and things to try and make it fit warlock, she could just as easily be like a ranger who took a couple of levels of, like, who did what I did with
So
I can't remember the character's name.
Russell.
Like,
yeah. So more what I'm saying is that there are ways that she could be not a warlock, but that you'd have to use feats to do it.
Yeah. And
it's
much
if what
easier
makes
to
her
do
a warlock is using the feats, then that argument can go either way.
So no, you can use a specific feat to get a warlock ability.
Yeah. But you also have to be a spellcaster to begin with.
But she's not a spellcaster, that's what I'm saying. Everything she does is either something granted to her by the fairy godmother, or she can't do it. Therefore, I don't think I think she's very low level if she is a warlock. And I still think there are other ways to jimmy it.
So what would you say, C or F?
I'd probably go F.
I'd go C only because Ariel talking to animals is innate to her, whereas with Cinderella, that is a result of the magic. And therefore is a magic that is being cast.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my argument. Like, it's comparative, but
yeah, I was going to say high F, low C, but either works.
Yeah. So C tier, but lower than Aladdin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is that?
Dr. Facilier, the villain of the Princess and the Frog. He's got friends on the other side.
This is a Disney film I have not actually seen, so I
Yeah,
cannot massively input here.
Yeah, I haven't seen the entirety of it, but I'm familiar enough to include it. And
Okay.
so he's a voodoo guy, you know, in New Orleans. So Disney racial sensitivity, disclaimer here.
Okay, so he's a voodoo guy. That means he's studied.
Yeah.
Like, that shit is not something you are born with. You learn that shit. So that immediately makes him higher level than both Aladdin and Cinderella, who just...
And spoilers for The Princess and the Frog. When he doesn't come through on his deal with his friends on the other side, he is literally dragged into hell.
Yeah, so that makes him a high-level warlock straight away, because he made a deal and he's
I'm willing,
held to the consequences.
Yeah, I'm willing to put him in at least B tier.
Yeah.
And, you could say that he's packed to the chain and somehow got the DM to okay his boosted familiar being a shadow, because his shadow does separate itself from him and do stuff for him.
That tracks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So any arguments for anything other than B tier? Because he is very much a basic D&D warlock. Like if a Disney character is memed as a warlock, it's him.
What's the next one?
Maleficent.
Patron.
Yep. It's like, we're not
just, no, patron.
Just
she's a
patron.
She is the source of power. The failure to make a deal with her by inviting her invoked her wrath on her victim.
Yeah.
And if they had made a deal with her, she would have bestowed on them something. She would have immediately created an A-tier warlock if they'd shown her the proper respect.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those, you're going to be in a medieval setting and not invite everybody important to your baby announcement thing.
I think in the version of I'm not necessarily basing it off the movie because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But in the version of Rapunzel, no, it was literally the child.
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. Sorry, it was literally the child's christening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the fairy godmothers. 4 godmothers. Traditionally in Catholicism, it's 2 sets of godparents. So obviously it's 4 fairy godmothers that they're doing there to lean into that. But imagine if the press were told you can't attend the royal baby's christening.
Yeah.
Or imagine if exactly the coronation's happening today. That's a quote unquote christening. It's a rite of passage in which someone enters a different state of religious being. Don't at me, okay? I was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
It's a sacrament of sorts. Imagine if, Putin wasn't invited, but he probably wouldn't have wanted to come because he's Orthodox. But imagine if it was medieval times.
Yeah.
And the king was being coronated, and you didn't invite the Duke of Wales.
Yeah.
Or you didn't invite the northern counts. You'd cause a civil war.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about here. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Mulan.
Animal familiar. Animal familiar.
Yeah. Actually, I'd say Mushu's a refluffed pseudo dragon, which makes her packed to the chain.
Okay. What's her deal?
I think
I've got a specific subclass in mind for her as well.
I would probably lean Hexblade Pact of Chain.
Yep, Hexblade. That's exactly where I thought. And
I do not understand where these words fit into a sentence.
So Hexblades are weird even for warlocks in that they get their warlock powers from a magic weapon. And a lot of their warlock features basically help them be better in fights.
So the point is that they study the weapon in order to access the power it gives.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like Bruce Lee studying nunchucks for that one scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
usually it's flavored through there being like a specific pair of nunchucks or whatever that you train with.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Excalibur.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right. So she studies the sword. She lives by the sword. She gains knowledge of the sword. And therefore the magic of the sword is unlocked. In very, very simple terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, with maybe you could get some thematic flavor of the ancestors playing into it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an
because
from the Lord of the Rings.
she takes her family's sword.
Yeah, like her family's sword. So what are we saying? That her patron is her ancestors?
Yes.
Who lend the power to the sword that she has to study.
Yes.
And also,
if she has to study it, then surely that's at least a couple of levels in Wizard.
And also, here's the thing. She's the only character on this list who uses the Warlock cantrip.
Which is?
Eldritch Blast. So, for some reason, Mulan's player decided to make a Hexblade and sink a couple invocations into tricking out their Eldritch Blast.
Okay.
Unusual
also
move.
Got the disguise spell that Aladdin and Cinderella used.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent effect. To the point that she makes a straight man question himself.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot. And for those who are wondering when she casts Eldritch Blast, this is, obviously reflavored. But I'm saying that in the snow battle scene, she uses a, she basically picked up Spell Sniper, Meta Magic Adept for a distance spell, Eldritch Spear, and Grasp of Hadar.
But is there not an argument for her being
Chaos can see where I'm going with this.
I absolutely can, especially given I literally watched Mulan last week.
Yeah.
Okay, but is there an argument for her being some kind of paladin?
She may also have levels in Paladin or Fighter.
Like
because those are pretty common multi-classes with Hexblade.
Yeah.
Like Paladin, Oath to the Ancestors. What's that frigging Paladin spell, whatever it is, that basically turns your sword into a fucking lightsaber? Or your weapon into a lightsaber? Or like, there's a spell you can cast that basically like... That's the one! That basically means you can lightning bolt people. Like, that could be the Eldritch Blast that you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about it got fluffed as shooting a firework.
But again, Searing Smite, that could easily be fluffed into a firework of some description.
Yeah, but that doesn't have the kind of range that I'm talking. So,
additionally, go on, sorry, Ring.
So I'm referring to the scene in Mulan where she shoots the firework and hits the mountain and causes an avalanche.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, so basically Eldritch Blast used Grasp of Hadar to move the chunk of snow that she hit, and trigger the avalanche.
Okay. So, I mean, again, it's this argument of she could be a warlock, but you could also Jimmy the same set of skills and abilities in other.
Something important.
You can only get that kind of range with a tricked out Eldritch Blast, unless she, and firework. Like, if you're using official D&D, there aren't any firework type weapons.
The other thing to note is that Mulan does cast other spells. Bear with me a second here. Because if we're arguing that Mushu is a familiar, which I think is pretty reasonable, then you can cast spells through familiars, and familiars can't cast their own spells. So anytime there are magical effects around Mushu, that has to be Mulan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously she's got the, the whole disguised self as, disguised self at will.
I mean, okay, but if she's a warlock, she's a fucking A-tier warlock, because think about it. Think of her capability. If she's a warlock, she's very, very capable. She's far more capable than any of the others so far on this list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can jimmy around it, but yeah, if she's a warlock, she's an A-tier warlock.
Yeah. So, and Chaos should be...
People, please check under your feet for a snake. Chaos has disappeared.
Yeah.
And they're back.
Yep.
Okay, so basically, Chaos, in case you missed, if Mulan is a warlock, she's an A-tier warlock.
Oh, absolutely. She does a bunch of insanely powerful stuff that's flavored all around her ancestors and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if her ancestors are her patron, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's a little bit Disney racial ickiness.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit, yeah. Some of it does translate across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Tia Dalma.
Yeah.
This one was my recommendation, because when you said Warlock, my brain just went, But now I think about it, I think she's a patron.
Yep.
This is my argument. Jack makes the deal with her. They make deals with her all the time.
Yeah.
She has her own magic. Now, she may be drawing the magic from another source, but they go to her for magic, and they make deals with her in exchange for magical items and magical help.
Well, also, there is the fact that she is literally a chained god. She's a patron.
She's literally a chained deity, yeah. So, yeah, she's a patron.
Yeah. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. Disney likes its patrons. Have you noticed something, though? Nearly all of the villains are patrons. Or the anti-heroes, or the morally ambiguous characters.
Well, and I will say that, Jafar is not a warlock in terms of the movie Aladdin, but in Aladdin 2, he is a patron.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Disney is saying to be powerful, you have to be evil.
Or maybe that making deals with random entities is evil. Thank you, latent Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah, but because Mulan aside, the only Mulan aside, the only the only warlock higher tier than C is the villain of Princess and the Frog.
Yeah. So basically, what we're saying is, if you're going to make a deal, make sure you've got a damn good lawyer on retainer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
See, I think the thing is that warlocks are also probably, relatively speaking, predisposed to being randomly attacked by adventurers, because it's probably real easy to look like a cult if you've got a couple of people who like the same patron.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how most religions start out, isn't it? couple of people like the same patron, and it's like
Yeah.
few people, patron, mix it up, stir it up, add in a few lions for flavor. 2,000 years later, you get Christianity.
Yeah. So, So do you want one final semi-related hot take?
Go
on. Robin Hood in Disney's Robin Hood is a Gloomstalker Ranger.
Ranger, yes. No idea what the fuck a Gloomstalker is.
Well,
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah,
I see that.
I'm saying that because Gloomstalker Rangers are the only ones that get disguise self on their spell list.
I think as well as Gloomstalker, there's also at least 2 levels in Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At least. Like, if you're going to build a Robin Hood, he's either got to be a Ranger with a lot of levels in Rogue, or a Rogue with a lot of levels in Ranger. Like, those are the only 2 ways to make that work. Depending on how you present him.
See, actually, no, I think it would be really...
Robin Hood is, I think, more Rogue than Ranger. Because most of his stuff is roguish, but he has the Ranger abilities. Whereas if you get, like, movie versions of Robin Hood or TV show versions of Robin Hood, he's more Ranger with roguish elements. Although there's an argument for BBC's Robin Hood having a few levels of Paladin, because he is very, very, very loyal to King Richard in the BBC series.
Yeah.
Like, that's his entire motivation in the BBC series.
So probably like Oath of the Crown.
Yeah. Oath of the Crown Paladin with levels in Ranger and Rogue.
See, now this might be a particularly hot take. But the version of Robin Hood in Doctor Who has at least 1 level in either Sorcerer or Warlock.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Robin Hood and Doctor Who.
Okay, I've got a challenge for you because I'm not familiar with it either, but I have a challenge for you. Build me Doctor Who's Shakespeare without him being a bard.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that we can do.
Yeah.
Bubble, toil and trouble.
Oh, that's quite fun.
Yeah.
So I would probably actually say that he is an artificer rogue. Specifically, such that all of his magical item related things are specifically related to the globe and to his writing place and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With rogue for expertise and like additional skill stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Just doing something.
What are you up to?
I'm just checking things.
That makes me nervous.
Okay.
I think you can also probably give him some sort of See, I'm trying to think, because I feel like the Shakespeare Doctor Who, like, doesn't have enough of the magical side to be an artificer, so I'm trying to see if I can think of anything else that fits better.
Well, so here's the thing.
And he studied the magic of writing?
Well, so he needs at least 7 levels of cleric, sorcerer, warlock, or wizard. because we
for-
do because we do see him cast a spell.
Yeah.
Oh, we do.
him,
Yeah.
Yeah, we see him cast banishment.
Yeah, given that it's Shakespeare, I am inclined to say wizard because studying, and he was not a daddy's little rich boy. He was not born to
Yeah.
it.
See, that's actually.
And he didn't make a deal for it. Therefore, I'm inclined to say wizard.
I think it would be really fun to say a reflavored sorcerer where it's a sorcerer that uses intelligence as a spellcasting modifier.
Is that not just a wizard?
No, because wizards and sorcerers get different class abilities. So they're functionally incredibly similar still, but the exact way that the class works, I would personally think works ever so slightly mechanically better.
So maybe he's born with it, maybe he studied it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, maybe he was born with a natural ability that he honed through study.
So functionally, so what we're saying is functionally there's very little difference between a high-level sorcerer and a high-level wizard.
Yeah.
Because maybe
are
they're
incredibly
born with
similar,
it,
yeah.
maybe they've got a library card.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they are the only two classes that get access to the wish spell, for example.
Yeah, which is why I said like when we were going over Jafar, which is why I said either he's casting subtle spells left or right, or the DM was okay with him making all his verbal components dad jokes.
Yeah. So, like, okay. So, what this essentially boils down to is, do you believe Shakespeare was born talented or learned to be talented? Or somewhere in between, depending on how you would build this. Now, that is a philosophical question for the ages. That is something academics are still debating. No, it wasn't fucking Francis Bacon. Calm down.
Here's the thing, though. If the Shakespeare in Doctor Who is the same as the Shakespeare in the Sandman, then he's a warlock.
I don't think he is.
He makes it. I'm saying only if he's the same Shakespeare from the Sandman, because he makes a pact with Dream.
This is what I'm doing. I've accidentally completed the historical Shakespeare with the Doctor Who Shakespeare.
Yeah.
The historical Shakespeare, flat out wizard. Studied that shit, got really fucking good at it.
Yeah.
Historically, wizard.
Absolutely.
Doctor Who Shakespeare. I mean, he's very much based on the historical, aside from the fantastical elements. So I would say wizard with a few levels in sorcery.
Yeah. And the moment where was it 57 academics punch the air?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the Shakespeare from Neil Gaiman is, I mean, every character who's capable of altering reality has some levels of warlock in Neil Gaiman, realistically, because they're born with it. Like, realistically, they are born or created with that ability. It's not something they've learned. They may have honed that skill and have a few levels in wizard from learning and studying it, but it's something they were born with.
Well, yeah, I'm saying, Dream, and by extension, the rest of the Invalists are patrons.
Yeah. Which makes the Shakespeare there a warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go with that. Historical wizard, like Doctor Who sorcerer with a few levels of wizard, maybe. A wizard with a few levels of sorcerer, however you want to jimmy it. You can budget either way. And warlock in Neil Gaiman, because every fucker's a warlock in Neil Gaiman. Yeah. You're either a patron or a warlock in Neil Gaiman. Choose.
Yeah.
Although another take that I would have there would be that the real life Shakespeare could also have been a mastermind rogue.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Oh God, it happened 8 minutes ago. My phone apparently, like, how do I know so many royalists? Why is my phone exploding? Sorry, I'm looking at my phone under the desk. That's why.
So Charlie has a new hat now.
No, Charlie has his mummy's hat.
Yeah.
And this, do you know what? This country that supposedly has such an issue with people cross-dressing, and we've just put an old man in his mother's hat.
You're not wrong.
Are you gonna tweet that?
Yes, I am.
Absolutely. Excellent. I love this.
So in our pirate game, you're gonna love this, Chaos. In our pirate game, we've got like the kind of party dynamic where my character just casually insults our Warlock to his face, and everyone is fine with it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tweeted.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
See,
this was fun.
Yeah.
See, if we were to include other Disney Warlocks from other properties, we could also expand that list greatly just by looking at Star Wars.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Well,
Merely because
let's
I've
not
never
just
seen
list
Star Wars.
that would be a question as to whether or not the Force is a patron or a god.
Or which elements of the Force count as a patron.
Yeah.
Because I would argue that while the Jedi might not be, the Sith would be.
Now,
but are they pledged to the Force, or are they pledged to the power that creates the Force?
The Force is the Force.
So the wellspring of the living Force is powered by and powers the cosmic Force. They kind of feed into each other.
Okay, but is it sentient?
It is suggested that the Force is semi-sentient.
Okay, then if it's sentient or semi-sentient, it's a patron.
Yeah.
And they are making a deal with a semi-sentient or sentient being for power.
Yes, but they are also born specifically with an ability to connect with the Force.
Okay, so they're warlock. Okay, so they're like sorcerers who wanted. They're basically Vegeta at this point.
Yeah. So
anyway, I have to run.
Yeah.
In a couple of minutes. But this was lovely. This was much better than sitting watching a man try on his mother's old hat. Hopefully it fit. Like, can you imagine how embarrassing that would be if it didn't fit?
I'm sure it was altered beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was double checked.
Yeah, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? Apparently, they built an entire replica of the inside of the church, or is it Westminster Abbey they're doing it at? The inside of the abbey for him to practice. Because apparently, like, he's so good, he's so competent, he's so much better than the rest of us. He needs to practice walking in a straight line and sitting the foot down.
You're not wrong.
Yep. Well,
like,
have fun at your therapy.
I'm going to need it this week, I think.
Yeah.
My therapist is a Scottish anti-royalist, so this week's going to be fun. Yeah. So I know that he's working, like, he did have time slots during this, so quite clearly he ain't watching.
Yeah. And also, tomorrow, we're doing Logan Lucky.
Logan Lucky tomorrow. Cool. Well, Take care, folks. Be good. And if you can't be good, remember, use your noodle.
Yep. Now, this is this is from the expanded universe, so technically it's no longer officially canon.
Technically.
But I can think of one Jedi that wouldn't be a warlock or a cleric. Well, maybe a nature cleric, because I think they get access to druid cantrips. But yeah, so I can think of one Jedi who would be either a druid or a nature cleric.
Okay. See, my immediate guess would be Quinlan Voss, but it could be someone a little bit more expanded than that.
Yeah, a lot more expanded than that. Vodo Sios Bask.
Ah, yes, the name rings a bell.
He's a lobster. He's the lobster-looking guy who, instead of using a lightsaber, he used a force-enhanced quarterstaff.
Oh yes.
So obviously he's got access to Shillelagh.
Naturally.
Yeah.
As did actually a lot of the early Jedi.
Yep.
Because a lot of them used some sort of force-enhanced weapon.
Yeah, it's like Vodo Sios Bask only really stood out because he did it well into the age where lightsabers were kind of ubiquitous.
Yeah. Was it the hyperspace war, maybe? I'm trying to think.
I think it was around the time as I think it was post hyperspace war, because it was it was around the time Exar Kun fell.
Yes. Cool, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yay, two nerds just going on about nerd stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have been slowly and surely dragging Remy into Star Wars.
This is the way.
This is the way. Yes, no, they have decided that they like several characters, including Ahsoka and the Mandalorians in general.
Yeah.
However, and I'm only going to say this here because I know they will not watch this, which is that they do not fully know about Order 66.
Oh, no.
They know some bits and pieces, but they don't know everything.
Oh, are you going to introduce them to the Clone Wars series?
They are presently, I think, halfway through season 3.
This is going to be fun.
The order we're watching it in is kind of chronologically in series.
Yeah.
So we started with The Phantom Menace. Then we did Attack of the Clones. Then the Clone Wars film. Now we're doing the Clone Wars series. Then I'm going to do... I'm actually going to do the first 5 seasons of the Clone Wars series, so as not to spoil Order 66. Then do Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And then do the other series around it, because obviously Tales of the Jedi, the last 2 seasons of the Clone Wars, and Bad Batch all spoil Order 66. Or something about that stuff.
I mean, like the Ahsoka episodes definitely, but the Dooku episodes don't.
This is true, but they are also watching through some of it by themselves, so I can't sit behind them going, watch these ones, don't watch these ones.
Yeah.
But they know that in Order 66 most of the Jedi die, and they know that there's something about the clones having a chip, but that's about all they're aware of.
Yeah. Good soldiers follow orders.
Indeed. Also, in the very first episode of the Clone Wars where Yoda has three clones with him, and they go and meet up with King Katunko.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking the other day, and I happened across the information that 2 of those 3 clones are the 2 clones that Yoda kills during Order 66. Immediately.
Dang.
Which is a fun little fact that I can drop on them in the middle of the thing.
Yeah. And so also, it's like I like I've seen bits of like the ads for like the preschool bait Star Wars series that Disney's like coming out with, because apparently they're doing that. I'm like, why do we need a preschool bait Jedi show?
I don't know. I think it's basically just to try and keep younger people interested.
Yeah, but that being said, it like in the ad, you see Yoda, so you know that this is either non-canonical or it ends very, very badly.
Oh,
Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we going to do?
oh, see, that's another thing that Remy's unaware of. That's going to be interesting to see their response. Is Reva.
Oh yeah.
Also, the Death Star. They don't know what the Death Star is properly.
Oh yeah, because you're doing it in chronological order, not release order.
Yeah. So I said, do you know what the Death Star is? And they said, isn't that a Star Wars thing? So they know that the Death Star is a super weapon because just by the name.
Yeah.
But they don't know what it does.
So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. And Remy, because obviously when you start interacting with the media online, all of your other media start pushing stuff related to it.
Yeah.
So they have come across some spoilers for certain things, like they know what happens to Padme.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I was gonna make a like this is how Liberty dies crack during Noodle's rant at the beginning, but I figured
yeah, that might just have perpetuated it a little bit.
Yeah. Purple, like I said, either it's going to be non-canon, this, and I hope you get what I'm saying when I mean preschool, what I'm meaning when I say preschool bait, in that it's, like think Paw Patrol.
Oh yeah.
Or like that, like Santiago of the Seas or whatever, that kind of show. But with Jedi who are all younglings. So it's like the fact that Yoda's there.
Yeah, I guess it depends exactly how old Yoda is at the time.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, like, it's showing like at like Yoda oh yeah, it could be like so far. Yeah, I forget how freaking old Yoda was when the Republic fell.
Yeah, when the Republic fell, he was 800 and something.
Yeah.
800, it must have been about 880 if he was 900 when he died. Because the Empire lasted about 20 years.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be like so far before the Clone Wars that.
Yeah, it could be like 5 or 6 generations before, when the Sith were still doing their whole finances thing.
Yeah. Yeah, before the whole. Yeah, before the like. Yeah, before. Like heck, it could it could be before Darth Plagueis became the Dark Lord.
Oh yeah, it could easily still be set several Sith generations ago.
Yeah. also, like, I love how it's like Darth Bane is like, Sith keep betraying each other. I'm going to turn that bug into a feature.
Oh, yeah. It's really funny because Remy doesn't know a lot of the twists that are coming.
Yeah.
And so with the Baneite line of the Sith, Remy's just like, but the Sith are right here. And I had to explain a little bit about what Darth Bane did and the fact that they have Force abilities to actively hide themselves and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and also the fact that, like, the widespread war across the galaxy, like, clouded, like, just made everything darker in general in terms of the Force, so it made it easier for for the Sith to hide themselves.
Oh, yeah. Like, even if Palpatine had to hide under the noses of a couple of Jedi before, the fact that he just, like, full-on sat with his lightsaber on his person in front of the whole Jedi Council and not one of them noticed.
Yeah. Well, this was set to, just run through the coronation. I think the coronation's over now.
The royalist on Noodle's phone would probably suggest so.
Yeah. And I know it's not for another, like, couple hours or so, but I don't want to risk cutting into Live from the Hive.
Yes.
So I think, and we've kind of just gone into just rambling about Star Wars. So I think it's a good place to end it here.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Do you have anything coming up or planned or whatever?
No. I will hopefully be around tomorrow and for media musing stuff, but at the moment, I've got, like, exams coming up and uni shit, and it's just like there is no content creating time right now.
Yeah. And as for me, we're doing Daniel Craig month this month, starting with Logan Lucky, and there will be a 1-week hiatus on the 21st when I'll be out of state at my dad's funeral or memorial service. So, and with that, remember, indoctrination is a hell of a drug. And if you have a tagline,
yeah. I've not said it in so long now that my brain is just blanking on what it is, but take care of yourselves and have a day.